Hello, everybody. It's 570 week number 8. We've made it to the end. What do you do in week 8, the final week in a course around reflective practice? You reflect. So last week, week 7, was the big submission. Week number 8, the discussion board. Provide a public link to your presentation from week 7. That was assignment number 4. And then the same format. Your initial post, 2 replies to classmates, and if you can reply to 3 or 4, even better. Reminder about all coursework this week. It is due, drum roll. You didn't do the drum roll. That's okay. Friday by midnight. 11:59 to be ever so dramatic. How can an LMS be dramatic? Make 11:59 the cutoff. Although I guess it changes to a new day at 12, so I suppose that tracks. Please post your initial one by Wednesday. Some have already done that. Thank you. And then the responses by Friday. Everything is due by Friday because 48 hours later, my final grades are done, and I need everything posted before Saturday so I can have Saturday and Sunday to grade and post. It's a very quick turnaround, so if there's any issues with sharing or anything, that gives us just the tiniest window to be able to troubleshoot each of those things. For your presentations that you were linking, make sure you click on that link in an incognito or private window. Please don't just copy the link and share it because it might not work. That's also just good practice for anything that you might be sharing with others. Google Drive plays well with Gmail. So if you're emailing someone through Gmail on the desktop and you share a Google Drive link, it'll actually pop up and say, "You're not sharing this with Bill. Do you want to?" Yes, let Bill comment and then share it. But if you're just posting it to a discussion board, that does not happen. So make sure that you make sure that link is public and viewable by anyone with a link. The rest of week 8, you're going to be reading more of the training of thought. Starting with chapter 12, that's where part 3 takes over. So are you hanging out with Dewey? Are you getting there? Since we don't have anything else to talk about, I was going to jump into Dewey just a little bit. I love the way that there's a section that looks at the curiosity of kids, and it's not how I would instinctively think about describing curiosity, right? So it's just that organic stage where kids are grabbing stuff like infants, right? Sucking on whatever they can. The social stage, which is, typical kind of 2-year-old behavior, like why? And I've read that kids that are between 1 and 5 ask why 1,000 times more often than they do in high school. So that's the social stage where they're really doing that, and then the intellectual stage where it becomes more internalized and they really try and observe and then experience things, and that's called intellectual curiosity. It's really interesting looking at how beliefs are formed and how teachers' habits can influence students' attitudes. Obviously around the teacher, but also the subject matter. And so it's fascinating that continues to be absolutely relevant, even with AI amongst us and the internet, things that did not exist when Dewey was writing this, but that, absolutely matter. What else do we have? The other part I wanted to talk about was, where'd it go? Oh yeah, the different types of studies. I love the way that Dewey categorizes this with skill-based, things you have to figure out how to do, writing, informational, history, and then disciplinary, things like grammar. That informational one in particular, with the ability to Google anything or ask an AI, generative AI text bot anything, that informational continues to be quicker and easier and more reliable, but not necessarily always reliable. The skill-based one is interesting because it used to be this really like tightly scaffolded process, and that got broken open a little bit. And I'm going to dive into how that might happen with generative text AI. I'll just probably call it ChatGPT because that's what most people are using. Um, Two examples for you about that. I was helping my fifth grader with math, and she was multiplying fractions, which I don't know. I don't know that I've done it since fifth grade. Have you? Probably not. With exasperation as my hand like hits the desk and shakes my camera. Like, I don't think so. So she got like frustrated almost immediately that I wasn't able to explain the problem to her. And I was like, dude, I've not done this since fifth grade. Um, at some point, I probably did, but like, I don't know, just you get in the habit of it, and then eventually you just kind of stop using it. Multiplying fractions is not part of my day unless I'm teaching someone how to multiply fractions. Um, and she also, uh, partially as a middle child, partially because she's just kind of a spicy human, which is amazing in so many ways. But when it comes to me as parent teaching my fifth grader, um, there is not an acceptance of what I am offering. Even with like a ukulele, like show me how to play it. And I was like, cool, like I've got this. I taught fourth and fifth grade music for 4 years. So this is what the chord looks like. And I don't even play ukulele, but like looked up some chords real quick and was like, I can hear the song and play the thing, like can play a tuba if you show me what the notes are or like watch, 5 minutes of a video. Not well, but I can technically play it. I bet I could. Um, which is kind of a quote. What was that from? I feel like it was The Departed. Jack Nicholson's character said that about the Beatles, right? With the tuba. Give me a tuba and I can write some music for you. Maybe. That might have been like a Departed reference. Um, but I could, and I did. So I'm like, here's the chord on the ukulele. And immediately I was like, give that to me. I know. I'm like, well, you don't know because you asked me, right? So, like, as you may know, parents tend to make the best teachers for their own kids, tend to make the worst teachers for their own kids, because kids are like, you are not my teacher, you are my parent. This is the case particularly with my middle kid. So, we're multiplying fractions, and just we were not making progress. So I'm like, fine, like, I figured it out, but you are not open to listening. But you know who you might listen to? I opened up ChatGPT on my phone, and I had not played with this until this moment. Opened up the text or speech where you can talk and it will talk back. So hit the speech button, set the phone down on her little tiny desk that's at home, um, read the problem aloud, and said, explain to me like I'm a fifth grader. Explained it. My fifth grader is like, that makes sense. Finishes reading, and then she asks a question. And my phone, ChatGPT voice, responds with voice. She asks another clarifying question, another clarifying response. I was just like, this is interesting, and I actually got the homework done. So one of the takeaways you can take is how homework is not helpful and harms relationships in many ways, but that's not the point. This point is that the ability to take something like ChatGPT for like a discipline like math, like something that follows like a procedure. So technically an algorithm, right? This is called algorithmic type of math. Here's the thing, here's the process. When it's a whole number times a fraction, when it's a mixed number times a fraction, the ability to actually ask an app, basically, explain this to me, and you get like an oral response. I was going to say a voice back. It's not technically a voice, but like you get words spoken to you answering your question. Suddenly, if we look at the buckets, skill-based, informational, and disciplinary, informational, we've been able to Google for a while. ChatGPT takes that to the next level. But disciplinary can actually like explain, here's how to do this math. And you can also say, explain it to me in a different way. Give me an example, give me an analogy, explain to me like I'm a fourth grader. And the responses will adapt to your requests. So this bucket of like disciplinary studies, the nature of studies is what Dewey's calling it, um, in the last year has significantly changed. A year ago, the best we could hope for this was either like one-on-one tutor, which very few students have access to, and which just continues the length of the school day more, which has other consequences to it, or stumbling upon a video. I guess if you have a fifth grade math teacher parent, they could help, but then you also have the like, you're my parent, not my teacher thing. Or like, here's a Khan Academy video. But now the ability to actually ask for like, teach me how to dive into this thing and then get an explanation of it is kind of amazing. I have my own version of it, a slightly different take, and then we'll put a little bow on this week's video, is I've had a couple different ideas for apps, but I'm an educator. This is why I'm making a video for you now. Like, this is my jam. Not as great with building apps. I'm not an app developer. I can get through like week of code and do like, take 5 steps forward, turn left, take 2 steps forward, turn right, take 3 steps forward. You reach the goal. I can do that in code if I have like examples to copy and paste or type, in a variety of very simple languages. I can copy and paste stuff that I've Googled. And now with ChatGPT 4, I can take these ideas. So I have like kind of 3 or 4 different ones. The one that actually works and is kind of finished is a traffic monitoring app. It's just internal, so we're technically running beta tests at our school. But our school has a conditional use permit where we have heavy fines, like $10,000 fines for one day of traffic going over. So there's significant effort put into by a handful of admin at our school to monitor the traffic, to manage the traffic, to pay very close attention to the traffic. There's sensors about the diameter of like a hockey puck that are drilled down as you leave our school. And so every time a car passes within 3 feet of those, change in magnetism triggers a car passed. But it's not perfect, and it's very complicated. That's not what this video is about. But that ends up hitting our school's network and goes into a website that we can log into. So I was like, wouldn't it be great that instead of having to go to the website, log in, go to the sensor, run a report, click on today, look at it, we could just have it. And so I asked ChatGPT, is there a way just to like grab data? There's an open API, which means like if you have credentials, you can access it and do a little handshake. And it wasn't easy, but it was easier. And I built a legit app. One of my latest podcasts, I just hit my 100th podcast. Yay! It was like episode 98 or 99 was basically recapping a conversation with my 3rd grader. I was describing this app, and I was like, yeah, ChatGPT built it. And he was like, no, it didn't. He was like, which humans worked on it? I was like, me. And he was like, then you're an app developer. And it took a long time to kind of change my view on that, but for him it was so obvious. And so now I, trusting my 3rd grader, I am an app developer. And I was able to do that, a very specific discipline, connecting back to our Dewey, that bucket of the nature of studies. That discipline is no longer gatekept. There's no gatekeeper between me and developing apps. Now, if I had an advanced degree in computer science or specific coding language, I'd be much faster at it, I'd be much better at it, and sometimes the code I get is just wrong. That happens. But the ability for me to like describe an app and then actually get code that works, and now it's on like 10 people's phones at our school, is amazing. And every 6 minutes it gets updated. More recently, I even figured out with ChatGPT how to create a widget. And so you don't even have to open the app. It just shows, and it's color-coded based on criteria we gave it, criteria that we can change. Like, the apps always has a red background. That's not helpful. Okay, so let's change our parameters so that it's maybe orange when it hits those times. And of all things, actually making the color, you have a rounded, what's that look like? Let me bring up the video so I can do a rounded rectangle. A rounded rectangle like that. Look at that. It blurs my face. My phone is so good. When it does that, the rounded rectangle widget, just getting that full screen as an image behind it, just a colored image with a light gradient, that was the hardest part. Creating the widget and putting data on it wasn't that hard. I think probably the easiest part of the coding was the conditional formatting. If it's this setting at this time, make the background this color. That part was actually the easiest. That worked the first time ChatGPT gave it to me. The hardest part was actually making the image full-sized. It basically had a white border around it and just had the image centered. I was like, no, that's not what I want. I want it to be full screen. And that was the hardest part of making the widget. It was a lot of going back and forth. I think I tried ChatGPT, I tried Google Bard, I tried Claude 2, made by Anthropic, a great free version that's right on par with ChatGPT Pro, the paid version. But all of that, again, fits into this disciplinary, these very specific skills that you used to have to get really specific lessons in and support with. I'm stuck on this. Help me with that. Here's my assignment. Give me feedback on it so that I can very slowly grow and scaffold myself. You can now just ask a chatbot to help you with that. Yes, it's better if you have a one-on-one tutor for that. I'm not going to pay an app developer that's a teacher to teach me how to do it. That's not even my job as tech director at the school. But being able to very slowly chip away at this idea of an app and actually have one is kind of amazing. So it's really, really interesting looking at the skill-based, the informational, and the disciplinary buckets of studies and how that fits. So anyway, I wanted to give you a little bit of that riff. The rest, hopefully, you're able to get through Dewey. Enjoy watching each other's videos and presentations. If you're in Google Slides and you're like, I don't hear the person, you might have to go full screen to be able to listen to the audio. If you're just looking at it in slide view with the slides on the side and the picture in the middle, if they have audio on that, you might not be able to hear it. You'll have to go full screen to hear that. So quick little tip on that. Enjoy listening to each other. Give some thoughtful comments. Have everything submitted before Saturday. And this course comes with free lifetime tech support. If you can spell my name, you can find me on all the things on social media. Reach out if you have questions about education, technology, anything in your master's coursework, or just I'm thinking of buying a new iPad for a family member. Is this a good one to buy? I'm happy to help you with that. Perhaps I'll see you at a conference. Perhaps I'll present with you at a conference. I've done that with Concordia alum before. Hey, I want to start presenting, but I'm not sure. I'm like, let's present together. I don't think I did that. That's a weird thing to do, but I just did it twice, so I don't know. Anyway, that is all for this week. Happy 570, happy week 8, and talk with you later.